Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Philosophy Hour of Literary Tales. I'm your host, Paul Krause, and in this episode, we examine Aristotle's critique of collectivism in Book 2 of the Politics. Aristotle's critique of collectivism is a very important and far-reaching critique, as well as a defense of natural property, which influenced various Enlightenment philosophers and political traditions, including John Locke and the American Founding Fathers. In Aristotle's critique, he argues that collectivism entails the elimination or abolishment of the family. And as we covered in our previous episode, examining a concise summation of Aristotle's political theory, you will recall how family is the basis of politics and civilization. Therefore, the logic entailed in Aristotle's critique of collectivism at a foundational level is that it is anti-political and ultimately anti-civilizational, because it would eliminate the very foundation upon which civilization and politics rests, the family, which leads to a defense of property. Aristotle goes through a lengthy critique of the ideal political society that was proposed to us in Plato's Republic. The basic gist of the argument is that too much collectivization, too much unionization, too much common ownership destroys the ideal size of political union, that it is unconducive to happiness and detaches people from their immediate roots, whether it is to the land or especially to their family. Collectivism, in other words, has little value in the formation, preservation, and progression of human life. This is because Aristotle is not a materialist or an economist in the sense of promoting economism, that economics is the only thing that matters in life. Aristotle is a hylomorphist. Life is not reducible to mere materiality, which is the logical foundation that one has if one is advocating for material collectivism. Aristotle's hylomorphism, a union of matter and spirit, is ultimately pluralistic. Humanity is complex. It has multiple aspects of nature, none of which can be reducible to a single form. The gist of Book 2, then, is rather self-explanatory, seeing that Aristotle's critique of utopian politics, centered upon his critique of collectivization, is a defense of politics, civilization, and of course, the Aristotelian mean. Because, as we said, too much collectivization, too much unionization, too much common ownership disturbs the happy medium that Aristotle is always advocating in his philosophy. The heart of Aristotle's critique is also metaphysical and ontological. As stated, politics and life, that is oppositional to human nature, premised upon the family, can only lead to disruption, disorder, chaos. It prevents human happiness and flourishing. If, however, you have a politics that is geared towards innate human nature, our teleological happiness and flourishing, which is premised upon family and property, then you have a politics that is good, noble, and virtuous. Aristotle's critique of collectivism, therefore, is also dealing with the questions of first principles of the existence of nature, as well as the principles of human nature. You also have the reality that we've just stated, that Aristotle's antagonism towards reductionism is in his metaphysic of plurality and pluralism. The universalism of collectivism necessitates that naturalistic pluralism, hylomorphism, be destroyed. Relating this to Aristotle's critique of monistic metaphysics, one should expect and see how he is going to critique and stand against anything that leads to reductionism and defends anything that leads to unitive pluralism. Third is how collectivism is the opposite of the process of organic growth and evolution from the family to the limited and regional state that he already laid out in Book 1 and that we covered in our summation of Aristotle's political theory. Value and virtue are also related to Aristotle's critique of collectivism as well. Collective ownership is of little value and is also impractical and doesn't produce any virtue in individuals. Any piece of property owned by all is, by definition, of little value and practicality because one doesn't have much attachment to it and can always shove responsibility off to others, since he or she knows that they'll be taken care of by the collective lot or by the one or two people working the collective lot who put in the effort on the behalf of others. Thus, the ideal of collectivism is also a product of unvirtuous and ultimately unintelligent and unwise people. It is too excessive in nature, which reflects a fundamental lack of understanding about politics, human nature, and the natural world. Why, Aristotle wonders, would one advocate something so contrary to basic common sense? After criticizing collectivism, Aristotle begins to theorize about various political regimes, the three forms of government, as well as some real concrete examples of their manifestation in the world. And we will look at this in another episode.